This lounge is for our platinum members, not walk-ins. The sentence sliced the morning calm like glass shattering in velvet. 7:42 a.m., Atlanta International Airport, Gate 15B, inside the glass-walled executive lounge reserved for Summit Airlines' top-tier clients. The air was crisp with the scent of espresso and leather upholstery. Everything about the room whispered luxury. That whisper turned cold when Vanessa Clark stepped in. Vanessa, 41, walked in wearing charcoal slacks, a cream blouse, and a navy blazer. Her black heels clicked confidently on the marble. Her only accessory, a minimalist carry-on and a leather tablet case clutched beneath her arm. No designer bag. No visible jewelry. No entourage. She didn't look like the CEO of one of the country's largest logistics conglomerates. She looked like a woman on a business trip, clean, focused, and purposeful. Which, to some, was simply not enough. She approached the concierge podium at the lounge entrance. "Good morning. Name's Vanessa Clark. My assistant reserved a pre-boarding workspace here." The receptionist, Sharon, didn't even glance up from her tablet. "This area's for platinum tier only." Vanessa raised a brow. "I am platinum." Sharon scanned the guest list, once. Then again, slower. A crease formed between her brows. "I don't see your name," she said curtly. "And we don't allow guests of other passengers to use the lounge." Vanessa offered a polite smile. "I'm not a guest. I'm a shareholder. Of Summit Airlines." That got a blink. But no apology. No welcome. Just a dry, skeptical shrug. "Well, anyone can say that." Behind her, a tall white man in a navy suit stepped up. "Excuse me, I think I'm supposed to be in the lounge." "Ethan Maxwell. Tier 1 member." Sharon smiled broadly, all professionalism restored. "Of course, Mr. Maxwell. Right this way. Champagne or sparkling water?" Ethan didn't even look at Vanessa as he brushed past her and into the lounge. He didn't need to. He had already decided what category she fell into. Vanessa exhaled once, slowly. She wasn't surprised. Not really. But she was tired. Tired of being tested, doubted, misjudged. The day had barely started, and the message was already clear: she didn't look the part. Not black. Not female. Not dressed in designer status. Not welcome. Sharon's voice broke the silence. "If you want to wait outside, there's a general seating area down by gate 12. They have outlets there too." Vanessa's hand hovered over her tablet case. She was about to pull out the ID. The proof. The evidence. But she stopped herself. "Let it play." She looked at Sharon squarely. "Is that your final word?" Sharon crossed her arms. "Unless you can prove you're not trespassing." Behind the glass, Ethan Maxwell was already sipping champagne, laughing with another white man in a tailored suit. Their chuckles echoed like static. And that's when everything changed. The lounge manager, a man named Greg Hanley, mid-50s, red tie too tight around his neck, stepped out from a side office. He took one look at Vanessa. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before security is involved. This lounge is for paying clients." Vanessa blinked. "And you are?" "I'm the manager here." Vanessa opened her case. Slowly. Like she was unveiling a weapon. Inside, a matte black leather folio. She flipped it open. Inside, a Summit Airlines shareholder pass. Not gold. Not platinum. Obsidian. A tier above platinum, issued to no more than 12 executives worldwide. Beneath it, a Summit Enterprises corporate ownership letter. And beneath that, her photo ID, Vanessa M. Clark, President and CEO, Summit Enterprises. Greg's eyes scanned the documents. He paled. Vanessa tilted her head. "You were saying?" The silence hit like a thunderclap. Sharon stumbled back a step. Ethan Maxwell, still sipping his mimosa, looked up through the glass and nearly choked on it. Greg stammered. "Ms. Clark, I didn't realize." "Of course you didn't," she said, calm and deliberate. "You didn't ask. You assumed." Sharon's face flushed. "You weren't in the system. That's not our fault. We've had people try to sneak in before." "And what exactly," Vanessa asked, her voice now razor-sharp, "did I do to make you assume I was one of them?" Neither Greg nor Sharon had an answer. Vanessa turned. "Open your phone. Record this." That last line wasn't for Greg. It wasn't for Sharon. It was for the assistant manager behind the counter, frozen with a phone halfway to her hip, who had instinctively hit record the second she smelled PR blood in the water. "You want the truth? Here it is." Vanessa raised her voice just enough to cut through the glass. "For the last 10 minutes, I've stood here being profiled, dismissed, and told I didn't belong. Not because I wasn't on the list, but because the color of my skin and the cut of my clothes didn't scream power to you." Her voice didn't waver. It rose. "I own 41% of this airline. I fly it weekly. I pay for the seats in this lounge. I built the boardroom that signs your paychecks. And in 5 minutes, you won't work here anymore." The lounge was silent. So silent, you could hear the mechanical hum of the air vents above and the soft ding of a service elevator down the hall. A champagne flute slipped from Ethan Maxwell's hand and shattered across the floor. Greg's mouth moved, but no words came out. Vanessa didn't wait for him to gather a thought. She turned to the young assistant behind the counter, whose phone was now filming steadily. "Save that footage. You're going to need it. Compliance will want a full record." Sharon stammered. "Ms. Clark, I didn't mean to." Vanessa cut in, calm but lethal. "You meant everything." She pulled out her phone, sleek, matte black, fingerprint locked. With one swipe, she opened her calendar and hit a small, unmarked widget in the corner. A speed dial activated. It rang once. A smooth voice answered. "This is Russell." Vanessa didn't flinch. "Russell, it's Vanessa. Code Indigo, Level 3. Right now. Atlanta Concourse B, Summit Lounge. 3 employees. Make sure HR is waiting." There was no question on the other end. Just, understood. She hung up. Sharon blinked, color draining from her face. "W.H. Watts Code Indigo?" Greg stepped forward. "Ms. Clark, I assure you this will never happen again." "We can." "Correct." "It won't," Vanessa replied without looking at him. "Because you'll no longer be employed here." "Wait, what?" Greg's face twisted. "You can't just fire me on the spot. There's protocol. I've worked here 17 years. And in the last 10 minutes, you undid every one of them," she said. "This is not a courtroom. This is a business. And I don't pay people to insult customers, let alone their boss." The door to the lounge opened again. 2 men in dark navy Summit Enterprise jackets stepped in. No name badges. Just small lapel pins shaped like keys. Corporate security. They moved with a quiet, coiled efficiency, like chess pieces that already knew where they'd end up. Greg stepped back. "This is absurd. You can't." One of the men pulled out a printed envelope. "Gregory Hanley, this is your formal dismissal package. Your access credentials have been revoked. Kindly leave the premises immediately." "Wait, my phone, my bag." "You may retrieve your personal items. Your work phone and keycard stay." The younger man turned to Sharon. She looked like a deer staring down headlights. Her mouth opened to speak, but no sound came out. Then she dropped her gaze to the floor. She didn't say a word as her envelope was handed to her too. Vanessa's voice remained calm. "You had 5 minutes. I gave you a chance to course correct. You could have asked a single question. You could have listened. You chose not to. And now you've made this lounge the top trending story on 4 platforms. As if on cue, the assistant behind the counter whispered, "It's at 1.3 million views, in 9 minutes. A voice from the lounge broke the tension. Ethan Maxwell, still seated, cleared his throat awkwardly. If it helps, I tried to say something earlier." Vanessa looked at him for the first time. "You didn't. You watched." He swallowed. "Right." A second later, the phone on the lounge's front desk rang. The assistant picked it up. She looked like she was trying not to pass out. It's corporate," she whispered to Vanessa. "Not Summit Airlines." The Enterprise sighed. Vanessa took the phone. "This is Clark." A male voice on the other end was breathless. "Vanessa, hi. Just saw the footage. Red Hook investors already reached out. They're offering to pay for a full anti-bias training initiative, national rollout. This could actually turn positive." "Not interested in PR spins right now," she said. "I want their names flagged. I want a system-wide audit of customer-facing behavior. Top to bottom." "Yes. Absolutely. We'll make it happen." "And Kevin?" "Yes? Get my jet out of holding. I'm not flying Summit today." He paused. "Got it." She hung up. Around her, the lounge was still as a chapel. Vanessa turned to the staff who remained, the assistant, the janitor quietly collecting the broken glass, the 2 clerks who hadn't spoken a word. "To those of you who stayed silent today, I want to be clear, silence has a cost. But it doesn't have to be permanent. Learn from this. Speak sooner next time." She walked toward the lounge exit, tablet case under her arm. As she passed Ethan's seat, she stopped. "You can keep the champagne," she said. "You'll need it." He tried to smile. It didn't work. She pushed open the glass door. Outside the lounge, a dozen people were gathered, phones out, cameras pointed. They had seen the footage. They were watching history in real time. Vanessa didn't wave. She didn't smirk. She just walked forward, heels clicking, jaw set, like someone who carried the weight of a company and made it look like armor. The hum of terminal voices greeted Vanessa as she stepped out of the glass doors. Behind her, the Summit lounge faded into background chatter and half-swallowed gasps. Phones still hovered in the air like curious drones. One woman mouthed "That's her" to her husband. Vanessa ignored them. She didn't need attention. She needed motion. She passed Gate 15B, where passengers were still checking in for the 8:20 a.m. Summit flight to Chicago. That was supposed to be her flight. But not anymore. She didn't look back. Her assistant, Natalie, was already waiting at Gate 18A, clutching a phone and a tablet under one arm like a battlefield medic ready to triage the next explosion. "Ma'am," Natalie said breathlessly, walking alongside her. "Corporate is spinning. CNN Business just ran the clip. The TikTok version is at 3.4 million views. Reuters is requesting comment. Summit stock dipped 6 points but it's rebounding." "Doesn't matter," Vanessa said calmly. "Did you pull the jet?" "On the tarmac now. Security detail en route. You want Atlanta Times to run the press statement?" "No press yet. Let the story breathe." Natalie nodded, scribbling notes, trying to keep up with both her boss and the storm. "Also," she added, hesitantly, "a man named Elijah left a voicemail for you. Said it's personal." Vanessa stopped walking. "Elijah?" Natalie shifted uncomfortably. "Didn't say anything else. Just asked if you'd take a call. Said you'd know." Vanessa stared at her phone like it had morphed into something ancient. Forgotten. She hadn't heard that name in years. Elijah Cooper. Once her closest friend in college. Co-founder of her very first startup. And the man who betrayed her during her first venture, right as they were about to go public. Signed a competing deal. Left her to pick up the pieces. Their last conversation ended in silence and a wire transfer of $500,000 she never cashed. "What did he say?" she asked. Natalie scrolled her call log. "Just tell her the man who left doesn't want to be the man who returns." Vanessa blinked. That wasn't a message. It was an apology. She slipped her phone back into her pocket. "We'll deal with that later." She continued toward the exit. But inside, her stomach twisted, not from anger, but something quieter. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of something. Just as they approached the elevator to the private tarmac shuttle, her phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. But this time, it wasn't Elijah. It was from her mother. Her voice crackled with age and worry. "Baby. I just saw what happened. Are you okay? Please don't let it harden you. The world is watching, and you held yourself like your father would've. I'm proud. But you're still my girl. Come home soon, okay? Don't forget who you were before the title." Vanessa exhaled. Deep. Grounding. This was the twist. Not the firings. Not the lounge scandal. It was the reminder that power, even used righteously, can quietly chip away at who you are. That strength must be rooted in something gentler, or it calcifies into pride. The elevator doors opened. Natalie stepped in beside her. "Where to now, ma'am?" Vanessa paused. Thought about the boardroom waiting in Chicago. The headlines stacking up. The offers of speaking gigs, sponsorships, the TED Talk producers already circling. And then she thought about something her father used to say. The best way to show them you're powerful is to choose peace when war's easy. She turned to Natalie. "Cancel Chicago. We're flying home." Natalie blinked. "Home? To Memphis? Family emergency?" Vanessa shook her head, smiling faintly. Family reminder. The next 24 hours moved like a storm and fast forward. By the time Vanessa's private jet touched down in Memphis, she had already been mentioned on MSNBC, CNN, and CNBC. Quoted in over 230 headlines worldwide. Followed by over 400,000 new people on LinkedIn and Twitter. Sent a brand ambassador request from a luxury tech firm. Offered a documentary deal by Netflix. But that's not what mattered. What mattered was the conversation that had started. Across the internet, people were asking hard questions. Screenshots of Sharon and Greg had gone viral. Summit Loungegate was trending at number 2 globally. And most shocking of all, employees from other airports were coming forward. In video after video, voice after voice, Black women, indigenous travelers, older immigrants, even disabled veterans were sharing their own stories. Not just from Summit Airlines, but across the airline industry. The moment Vanessa had let that phone record, she had done more than defend herself. She'd ripped the bandage off a festering wound. One that had bled for far too long. Meanwhile, Greg, the former lounge manager, was spinning, desperate to rewrite his side of the story. He appeared on a regional talk show 2 days later. Suited. Clean-shaven. Apologetic. But not sorry. "I reacted poorly," he told the anchor, "but I didn't know who she was. That's not about race. That's just protocol. She wasn't on the list." The anchor raised an eyebrow. "But you didn't ask for ID. You threatened security." Greg smiled tightly. "Well, hindsight's 20/20. That clip? It got 500,000 views. The original footage of Vanessa calmly saying, 'I own 41% of this airline?' That hit 78 million in 5 days. In one video posted by a law professor, a voice narrated over Vanessa's moment. Watch her stand still while they unravel. That's power. That's what composure under pressure looks like. If you want your daughters to understand dignity, show them this clip. If you want your sons to understand leadership, show them how she didn't raise her voice once. People didn't just watch the story. They felt it. And then came the email. Vanessa was sitting on her back porch in Memphis. barefoot. Laptop open. A mug of tea cradled in her hands. It was from Sharon. Ms. Clark. I've debated whether to write this. After the firing, I told myself you'd never care what I thought. I was raised to be polite. But somewhere between customer quotas and company policy, I learned to prioritize profiles over people. I assumed. I judged. And I forgot that respect is something you give before you think it's earned. I deserve to be fired. But I want to learn. If you ever start that training program you mentioned, please consider letting me attend. As a student. Not as staff. Sincerely. Sharon West. Vanessa stared at the message for a long time. She didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, she opened a clean document. Typed 4 words at the top. The Clark Initiative, respect before rank. And then beneath it, a training series for frontline employees in high-pressure industries, focused on implicit bias, emotional neutrality under stress, cultural sensitivity, the psychology of power, perception and presence. By the time the sun had set, she had outlined the first 3 modules. The next morning, she would file the trademark. By the end of the week, 5 major airlines would call. And 2 months later, a U.S. senator would request to make it part of a federally endorsed training initiative. 2 weeks had passed since the airport incident. Vanessa had returned to Atlanta quietly. No press. No escort. Just a rental car and a navy coat wrapped tight against the rain. She wasn't here for meetings or cameras. She was here to say goodbye. Gate 15B stood as plain as ever. Same seating. Same coffee stand. Same security line with sleepy travelers clutching boarding passes and lukewarm caffeine. But something was different. A new sign hung beside the Summit Lounge doors. A plaque. The Vanessa Clark Standard, Service with Sight. Vanessa stood in front of it for a long moment. Behind the glass, a new staff rotated through check-ins, diverse, attentive, professional. One of them, a young man in a Summit blazer, opened the door. Ms. Clark, he said, careful not to stare. Would you like to come in? Vanessa smiled faintly. Not today. She turned back toward the gate. Just before she left, a voice called after her. Ma'am? She looked over her shoulder. It was the assistant from that day. The one who recorded everything. She looked older now, just 2 weeks later. Maybe wiser. I wanted to thank you, she said. For not firing me. Vanessa nodded. You didn't have to film that day. No, the woman said quietly. But someone needed to remember what happened. They stood in silence for a breath. Vanessa looked past her, to the lounge beyond. Then back to the assistant. I didn't fire you, she said, because I knew you'd remember more than just the video. You'd remember the moment. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out a single white envelope, and handed it over. The assistant blinked. What is this? Vanessa smiled. An invitation. We're launching something next month. I want you there. Then, without fanfare, she turned and walked away. And now I want to speak directly to you, yes, you, wherever you're watching this. Whether it's on a crowded train, a lunch break, or curled up alone late at night. Have you ever walked into a room and felt unwelcome before you even opened your mouth? Have you ever been told, in a dozen subtle ways, that your presence was a problem? That your face didn't match the room? That your voice needed permission? If you have, then hear this. Silence is no longer your only option. You don't have to fight loud to win. You don't need a camera crew, a board seat, or a black card. You just need your voice. Your boundary. Your line in the sand. What Vanessa did wasn't magic. It was memory. The kind carved out of every room she was underestimated in. Every hand she shook that wouldn't meet her eye. Every time she had to prove herself twice for the same seat. She turned that weight into weaponry made of grace. So if this story struck a nerve, hit that like button. If you know someone who's felt invisible, share this with them. And if you believe stories like this shouldn't just be told, they should be remembered, then tap subscribe. There are more truths to tell. And you, yes, you, might be the next one who finally says, "No. That seat's already taken."